Good morning, student. We have been discussing about the entrepreneur. In previous lecture, we have discussed who is an entrepreneur and the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. So the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs we have seen: he is a self-confident and optimistic. He is energetic and diligent, able to take calculated risks. He is a creative and need to achieve something in his life. He responds positively to the challenges. He becomes dynamic leaders, and he is moreover flexible to able to adapt and is responsive to suggestions, knowledgeable of markets. He takes initiatives, and then he is able to get along with others, resourceful and persevering, independent minded, and versatile knowledge, responsive to the criticism. If criticism is there, he always responds positively to the criticisms. So that we have discussed in the previous lecture. Now we will move further to explain the entrepreneurships. So another way to explain the entrepreneurship is from the socio-cultural standpoint. Socio-culture, socio-culture standpoint. Okay. So this is another way of uh, explaining the entrepreneurships from the socio-cultural standpoint. So Albert Sapiro made comparative studies between nations. What he has done, he made the comparative study between the nations. He also made the comparative study between peoples and ethnic groups, and he accumulated information from historical trends and conducted many first-hand uh, information about the first-hand interviews with entrepreneurs. He has taken the interviews with the entrepreneurs, and what he concluded that individuals often become entrepreneurs by being thrown into situation that forces them to fashion their own means of economic livelihood. So immigrants fit this model ways. The immigrant people, they always immigrate from their own countries uh, in order to avoid the poor conditions and because of the lack of opportunity in their home countries. So they migrate another countries. When they arrive in another countries, most lack language skill necessary to find a decent job. Okay, therefore, even though their language skills and these may be barred from employment, but circumstances afford few options for these displaced persons who frequently establish independent venture. So the Irving Berlin, he sang for pennies on the street of the New York. But when he died in 1989, he left behind an unequated legacy of music and theater innovations. So Berlin was one of the many immigrants who overcome these barriers to succeed, and in so doing, enrich our cultures. So there are number of the immigrants are also there in the Jalgaon city. They immigrated from their own village, from their own city to the Jalgaon city in search of the work, and they come here and they establish their independent ventures. So Sapiro also found a high correlation between the increases in the new ventures and the rising unemployment. Many individuals become economically displaced or find themselves disillusioned with faltering careers. For these individuals, starting a new ventures can be exhilarating. a breath of fresh air into an otherwise stale lifestyles. Individuals who retire, particularly those who retire early, are seldom ready to quit working, and for many, starting a business is an exciting opportunity. So next we will discuss the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurships, small business, and corporate ventures. So the term entrepreneurs may be properly applied to those who incubate new ideas. Those who incubate new ideas. Okay. And start enterprise based on those ideas and provide added value to the society based on their independent initiative. However, the individuals who simply substitute income by leaving job to create the local stores or independent service business are described as a small business person. The small business person. Who is the small business person? The person who substitute their income by leaving the job to operate in local stores or the independent service business are described as a small business person. Suppose the person is working in a working in any organization and he left that job and therefore his income is totally stopped. In order to substitute that income, probably he may search or may operate a local stores or independent service business, and if you do that he will be called as a small business person. He will be called as a small business person. The distinction is subtle but important. The person who established the fast food franchise chain is called an entrepreneur. Now the person who owns the restaurants is not called the entrepreneur, but he is a small business person. But the person who established the fast food fast food franchise chain, fast food franchise chain is called an entrepreneur. Okay, so but the local restaurant owner is called as the small business person. But if he is preparing the fast food in the local restaurants, then he cannot be called as an entrepreneur. He will be called as a local restaurant owner, or it is called as the small business person. So the distinguishing factors are the entrepreneurs have vision for growth, commitment to constructive change, persistence to gather necessary resources, and energy to achieve unuseful results. So the entrepreneurs, they have a vision, they have vision for growth, they have vision for growth, commitment to constructive change, commitment to constructive change, persistence to gather necessary resources. persistence to gather necessary resources, and energy to achieve unusual results. So this is the actually to if such person having such qualities, this person called as an entrepreneur who has a vision for growth, commitment for commitment to constructive change, persistence to gather necessary resources, and energy to achieve the unusual results. The small business person may exhibit these characteristics, but only coincidentally, not as a prerequisite to establish an enterprise. Okay, so there are controversial issues because many small business person reflect the essentials of entrepreneurs. They incubate ideas, gather resources, take individual risks, and persist in seeking their venture success. They do not, however, pursue the growth through the constructive change in the same way Skomter explain entrepreneurships or in the manner of Drucker's description of the entrepreneur's process. So still, who has been accomplished by research is clearly differentiate the small business from the entrepreneurs. If you add the third dimension of the corporate entrepreneurships, we all have a rather complex controversy. So next we'll discuss the corporate entrepreneurs. So the corporate entrepreneur sometimes is also referred to as a entrepreneurships. Is concerned with the innovation that leads to the new corporate divisions or subsidiaries ventures in established large firms. If the already established large firms are there, and in that, if that large firms they are concerned with the innovation that lead to the new corporate divisions or subsidiary ventures, then it is called as the corporate entrepreneurs. The concept of entrepreneurship does not exclude managers in large organizations from being entrepreneurs if they combine resources in usual way to create the innovative new products or services. However, because there are grounds for arguing that corporate entrepreneurship is a play on words, corporate managers may commit time and energy and perhaps also the risks their careers. Okay, so let us draw the fundamental distinctions between the small business entrepreneurships and entrepreneurships. So perspective of the small business. So during the 1970, small business created more than 6 million new jobs. So the almost the 6 million new jobs are created from the small business. And the Small Business Administration and suggests that about 55% of the new jobs of small business fails sometimes. The popular idea is that owning or managing a small business is like riding a tiger. Survival is not a probable conclusion. This view is inaccurate for a number of reasons. A firm that changed its name is listed as out of business. The firm that changes from proprietorship to an incorporation is counted as one quit and one new start. And when the firm successfully merges with another, takes takes on a new partner, or it can mistakenly be counted as a business failure. In addition, the business may be successfully operated by its owners. than sold, and the assumption of failure is erroneous. For these reasons, research has not accurately established small business failure rates. So there are the important points because of the many students will be entering the world of small business. Perhaps most will find themselves in the small organization, shouldering tremendous responsibility early in their careers. If the employment statistics are accurate, nearly half of all graduates will actually be working in the firm, with fewer than 1,000 employees, and many more will become independent small business person. So small business is generally the small business is one that does not dominate its industry, and it has less than $10 million in annual sales and has fewer than 1,000 employees. Okay, so this is the definition of a small business. Small business which has the $10 million or more in sales, $10 million in annual sale, and fewer and has a fewer less than 1,000 employees, and having employees less than 1,000. Okay, so some exceptions are there to this criteria. Okay, but the Small Business Administration uses this benchmark for evaluating loans and providing the business assistance. If the Small Business Administration has to provide the loans and provide the new business assistance to the new ventures, these are the basic criteria that that organization or the small business organization must have the $10 million sale annually, and it also has the employees less than the 1,000. So the small defies clear definition. For instance, in today's market, firms with fewer than 100 workers but with high speed production lines can generate $50 million or more in sales. So fast food franchisee such as the McDonald's, they generate millions in sales with only a few employees. On the other hand, firms with several thousand workers may have the low sales volume. So in general, small business seldom dominate their industries, and they rely on filling a niche in local or regional markets. Okay. So there are three types of the small business. Their relative advantages and disadvantages are like this. So the types of small business. First is the family enterprise. So what is the advantage of this family enterprise? It offers economic independence. Obviously, it offers economic independence. Means we do not have to depend on anybody as far as economy is concerned, and promotes family unity. This also promotes family unity. Okay. And disadvantages: family liabilities for business, unsure succession. It has also has some disadvantage. This is the advantage. Disadvantage is that family liability for business, unsure succession. Unsure for succession. Okay, we are not sure whether the family member will succeed that business or not. So that is the disadvantage of family enterprises. And next, second types of the small business type is a personal service firm. Personal service firm. Okay, PSF. Okay, so what are the advantages of this firm? Offers personal freedoms and use of talents and skills for the personal growth. The advantage of this personal service firm is the offers personal freedom and use of talents and skill for personal growth. And use of talents and personal skill for growth. Okay, but it also has some disadvantage: personal liability and the lack of secure income without clear succession. Okay, that is the disadvantage of this the self personal service firm. That is a personal liability and lack of secure income. And lack of secure income without clear succession. Okay, and the next type of the small business is franchisee. So the franchisee provide the most business startup needs with relative income security. The franchisee provides most business startup needs with relative income security. Needs with relative income security. And the disadvantage of this franchisee is the less freedom and adventure than others. Less freedom and adventure than others. Okay, so these are the small business. So we have seen that in case of the personal service firm, it is a formal category of business according to the internal revenue service and the special tax regulations. So next is the franchisee represent the extraordinary growth sectors of the American economy, and that is spreading overseas at an accelerated pace. So we also heard that we have opened the franchisee of such and such. For example, McDonald's. So fast food franchisee chain, McDonald's. Okay. So they actually open the franchises in different parts of the world, and they provide the food to this, they produce the food through this chain and it's supplied to the nearby markets. So the individual who buys the franchisee stores or contracts to franchise service typically is a small business person seeking a protected local market with an established business line. So already the business is established and only we have to open the franchises in that regions, and therefore the main uh, business or the main firm, they will give them the assistance and the guidelines how to do the business in that local areas. So those individuals buying into the franchises are called franchises, and those who sell franchises, the pattern corporations, are called franchisors. So franchisors are created by the contracts, and individual receives the specific help and advantage in the exchange for the franchisee fee. Okay. So whenever suppose we take the franchisee of any other company, we have to pay the fee to that company. And in addition, in exchange of the franchisee fee, that company provide the specific helps and advantages to that person who has taken the franchisee. Okay. So the, and whatever the sale is there through that franchisee, they give the we can say they give the profit, share of the profit to that franchisor. But the pattern corporations, they are called the franchisors, and who take the franchisee is called franchise. Okay. So the franchise may receive the financial help, training, guaranteed supplies, a protected market, and the technical assistance with matters such as site selection, purchasing, accounting, and operating managers. So the individuals buying into the franchisee are called, suppose the individual person is buying franchises are called franchises. Okay. And those who sell franchises, the pattern corporation, the pattern corporations pattern corporations are called franchisors. Franchisors. Okay. So are you getting? The individuals who buy the franchisee are called the franchise, and those who sell franchises or the pattern corporations, they are called franchisors. So there is one Irvin in 21st century, the world's largest real estate sales organization, with more than 6,700 franchise offices in the United States, Canada, Japan, and Great Britain. The company generates $5 billion annually in the world revenue. So this is how the pattern organizations, they are called as the franchisors. They provide the franchise to the other persons. तिन्ही घेऊन जा, त्यातले कोणते लागतात ना, सगळ्याच घेऊन जा ना, तिथं 6 चाव्या. So we have grown accustomed to franchises such as the McDonald's, but franchise exists in a great many areas. Most stores in shopping malls are franchises, including stores that sell clothes, books, for example, toys, photographic supplies, record, shoes, and computer services, printers, furniture stores. So these are called the franchises. Next is the corporate entrepreneurship. त्यांना विचारतात शंभेकर सरांना, शंभेकर सरांना माहिती, मला नाही माहिती तेवढं. Corporate entrepreneurs. The popular term for corporate entrepreneurs is the entrepreneurships. This is a catchy sound to it, but many people avoid the term. It seems to cute. They explain a complex concept. To review our introductory comments, corporate managers certainly can be innovative as anyone else, but the employees create something new within the context of their jobs. There is no requirement that an individual takes a personal stake in making it a commercial success. There is no assumption of risks, no assumption of profit, no assumption of loss. So the person who is working in an organization, employees, he creates something new within the context of their job, and there is no requirement as such, but even though he is a creative person, he creates something for the organization and takes the personal stake in making it a commercial success. Even though there is no assumption of work, of risks, no assumption of profit, and no assumption of loss. तिला पाहिजे ते चाव्या कोणत्या तरी, मला माहित नाही म्हटलं कोणते कोणत्याला लागते का. But when employees create something new within the next context of their job, okay, so there is no assumption of risks, no assumption of profit, no assumption of loss. However, many managers are given the opportunity to pursue the innovations, as we shall see. Okay, what is the corporate entrepreneurs? So according to the eminent researchers, Hans Skollhammers refers to corporate entrepreneurship as an intra-corporate entrepreneurship. According to his views, entrepreneur events does not take place when the formal organization is involved. Okay, when the formal organization is involved in traditional research and development, unless individual can work independently to create a new venture, while sharing both risks and awards. Okay. So the corporate entrepreneurship does takes place when new products or services are explicitly supported with the company resources and when employees are responsible for championing their innovations. Okay. So more precisely, these individuals have the opportunity to work independently, are given tremendous latitude, and are expected to generate a new unit to extend the corporate activities. These units may take the form of the division, subsidiaries, or entirely new entities having the corporate capital backing. So this is about the corporate entrepreneurships. Now the entrepreneurship in practice. So entrepreneurships can be explained in part by understanding what motivates individuals to pursue their dreams vigorously. Okay. So setting theory aside, students seem to acquire these understandings best by studying examples because the theory gives the less results, but the theory with practical gives the valuable results. So student they always understand best by studying examples, and therefore fortunately the United States is an elegant culture filled with the historic precedents and prominent entrepreneurs who have created the national infrastructure of commerce. How the evolution of the contemporary entrepreneurships. A very long time ago, ancient people invented hand axe and they made the wheel a reality and discover new ways to grow crop. Much later, sails mounted on boats made seafaring trade possible. Still later, Robert Fulton's steam engine revolutionized sea and land transportation. These were watershed events in human history, but it was 19th century entrepreneurs who dramatically thrust the world into the industrialism. Three early pioneers were Samuel Colts, Ely Whitney, and Samuel Morse. Colts' weaponry helped increase the firepower needed to expand westward. Whitney's cotton green made an extraordinary increase in productivity of exported cotton, and Morse telegraph revolutionized communications technology. An era of tycoons emerged that valued America into the 20th century, and during this era, the foundations of modern industry were laid. So, the contemporary entrepreneurships period of entrepreneurship began with innovators such as the Cyrus McCormick, who, as noted earlier, constructed a mechanical reaper that revolutionized agriculture, and Alexander Graham Bell, who launched the television communication industry with the telephone. Bell's invention of the telephone may have been in a great part of an accident. Bell has been working for years on the way to create or to improve the communication for deaf and hearing impaired. He really wanted to create a hearing aid, but he mechanically but his mechanical voice box gave us the telephone. Unlike the McCormick and Bell, Henry Ford was not an inventor, but he was an astute entrepreneur who he When he founded Ford Motor Company, Old and several other auto companies has been in production for nearly 20 years. So probably these peoples they were the entrepreneurs who lifted the economy of the America. So the most famous individual was also the Thomas A. Edison, who created the light bulb. Okay, the light bulb has been around for years, but no one has been able to make one that lasted long, or one that used alternating current. Edison experimented with more than 1,000 models before he was successful, but even then the light bulb was only a gadget. Edison was ridiculed as an eccentric tinkerer. His light bulb was a little used until it was wired to the source of power, a generating station. Edison was successful only after he made the light bulb commercially viable by establishing an electric generating industry. Okay, so in this way, how the entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs in practice evolution of the contemporary entrepreneurships. So I think this much is sufficient. Remaining we'll discuss in the next lecture. Thanks for patient listening.